Thank you very much. I have a resolution that council is going to close meeting at 7:02 pursuant to section 239 2B of the Municipal Act for personal matters about an identified individual, including municipal or local board employees. And I've got a mover and a seconder, moved by Councilor Burns, seconded by Councilor Reggie Schoenfeld. All in favor? Oh, Councilor Buchwald.
Yes.
Councilor Burns.
Yes.
Councilor Reggie Schoenfeld.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Yes, for myself. That's carried. Thank you. We are now in close. So the numbers are, just change them. Oh, we accept the correspondence from the committee in this one, or do we do that in open?
You do that in open. So basically, this meeting is just to say, just to go back to what you just did. And you're just agreeing with what the committee's recommending. So when you come out of, so like you could almost get out of this meeting now.
Okay.
Because you have to follow the steps. So as long as you all agree that the letters are going out, then that's the resolution that you do need to open.
So the direction would be to send the letters. Council's okay with that?
Yes.
So then I have a resolution that comes to closed session at 7:03 p.m. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councilor Buchwald, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Buchwald?
Yes.
Councilor Burns?
Yes.
Councilor Reggie Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Yes, for myself. That's carried. Thank you. We're out of close. Yep. So I have a resolution that council accepts the report on correspondence from the communication committee as presented. I'm going to move in a second. Moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Buchwald. Councilor Buchwald.
Yes.
Councilor Burns.
Yes.
Councilor Reggie Schoenfeld.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. That's carried. Thank you. That brings us to the mayor's address. I would like to acknowledge how great it is to have council and staff together again in the same room, now that we can meet in groups of 10. Staff is busy working on guidelines for the public as the province announces more gradual reopening of our public facilities. Once again, I would like to thank our CAO and Public Works staff for the completion of our road construction projects, as their attention now shifts towards the completion of Lead Cemetery Road. On behalf of council, I want to acknowledge the extra time and effort that was required from staff to complete these projects within the budget when our tenders came in 600,000 over budget. Our public works staff completed culvert replacements. Staff utilized a portion of our road maintenance budget in order to stay within our budget. Attached as part of this report is an email from MTO indicating that they will be conducting a comprehensive review of the Lake Dory Road and Highway 60 intersection in Golden Lake. This was a collaborative effort with North Algona Wilberforce, the county, and the council of Pikwakanagan, addressing the congestion and safety concerns with MTO after the reopening of businesses on the reserve. The County of Renfrew is in the process of completing a service review, which involves interviews with each municipality on the current delivery of services and ideas on exploring additional initiatives which could lead to more efficiency. That is my report. I have a resolution that council accepts the mayor's address as presented, moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Burns. Councilor Buchwald.
Yes.
Councilor Burns.
Yes.
Councilor Reggie Schoenfeld.
Yes.
Councillor Robinson?
Yes.
I'm a yes, that's carried. Thank you. So we'll move on to the adoption of the minutes. I have a resolution. The council accepts the June 2nd, 2020 regular meeting minutes as presented. Are there any additions, corrections, or omissions? Seeing none, can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Buckwell, seconded by Councillor Robinson. Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Burns.
Yes.
Councillor Reiche Schoenfeld,
Yes.
Councillor Robinson,
Yes.
and myself, yes, that's carried. Item 6.2 is the special June 2nd, 2020 strategic plan minutes. I have a resolution that council accepts the June 2nd, 2020 strategic plan consultation meeting minutes as presented. Any additions, corrections, or omissions? Seeing none, can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Reiche Schoenfeld, seconded by Councillor Buckwell. Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Burns,
Yes.
Councillor Reiche Schoenfeld,
Yes.
Councillor Robinson,
Yes.
yes for myself, that's carried. Item 7.1 is we're into delegations. So I have with us tonight Roy Richards from McKellican and Associates. Roy, right, the floor is yours. Oh, thank you. Start with the letter, or-
Whichever you prefer, I think we're back from both there, but
I'll bring you the most.
okay, so I'll start, this is the independent auditors report. This is the start of the financial statements. Kind of gets overlooked, but it's fairly important. There's 4 main paragraphs within it. I'll just go over them briefly. There's the opinion paragraph, just the first one, just identifies the entity's financial statement have been audited. The title of each statement and the date covered. In this case, it was December 31st, 2019. And most importantly, states the auditor's conclusion in this case. It states that it's an audit under the Canadian Public Sector Accounting Standards. The second paragraph, the basis for audit opinion, it just states the audit was covered under the generally accepted auditing standards. We are independent to fulfill their responsibilities, and we believe that the audit evidence has, as a team, has sufficient appropriate to provide the basis of our opinion. In this case, we do believe there's an opinion, so no qualifications or issues with the audit. The fourth paragraph is responsibility of management. In this section, the audit report describes the responsibility of those in the organization that are responsible for the preparation of financial statements. And ultimately, those charged with governance are responsible for overseeing the township financial reporting process. In the last paragraph, the auditor's responsibility, it's our responsibility as the auditors. It's our objectives to obtain reasonable assurance the statements are proof material in the statement. Reasonable assurance is a high level assurance, but it's not a guarantee that the audit is conducted in accordance with general accepted auditing standards will always protect material in the statement. And this statement is considered material individually or united if they reasonably are expected to influence the economic decisions of the users. I'll move on to the first, I guess it's the statement in the package. If anyone has any questions, if anyone wants to just ask me. A little bit further into that subject. The first area is the statement that is the financial assets. This is the statement of financial position. I'll just move down through to talk about each area. Cash and cash equivalents. Cash increased by 541,500 from the previous year. And that's the result of change in working capital balances and also deferred revenue and reserves both increasing at year end. When we look at the statement of cash flow, we'll be able to see where cash is either used or also produced within the township. And also highlight that these statements are consolidated, so the Algona Waste Management Board, the percentage ownership by the township is consolidated into these statements. So within that, there is $92,000 cash balance that's really for the Algona. Taxes receivable decreased by just over $8,000 from the previous year. Taxes are currently 13.4% of total taxation. That's also including the schools and county portion, which the municipality has to collect. Last year it was 14.1%, so a decrease from the previous year of 7%. It is important to manage taxes receivable because it will tie up cash, which will hinder the operations and investments of the county if it's not managed properly. The next item, accounts receivable. It increased by just over $20,000. Consists of a HST rebate of $100,000, and then there's the MDRA flood assistance received from the province of just over $132,000. And then there's some small amounts due from municipalities and some small items within that. And then the last item under financial assets are the investments. The township has an investment of $556,000 and non-lot values of $200,000. So total financial assets of the municipality were $4,429,000 at the year. Under the liability area, accounts payable and accrued liabilities, which is a decrease of $275,000, which is as trade payables decreased at year end. The trade payables are $166,000, which was a decrease of $164,000. And there's accrued vacation of just over $21,000, and due to Ontario is receivable now, so it decreased by $88,000. And auto values management for $17,000. Deferred revenue will be for a reserve fund. That is the gas tax funding that the municipality receives. There's detailed explanation in the notes, but there's revenue of $181,642. That included a $91,500 top up, just over $1,000 interest, but $349,934 was transferred for purchasing capital assets. Other deferred revenue, this relates to a major portion of that is the OSIP funding of just over $241,000, accessibility grant of just over $22,000, Main Street revitalization of $27,000, and the cannabis information fund of $15,000 makes up the balance of just over $305,000. The lien note payable is for the fire truck purchase, so we're payable of $43,000 in the year, so this amount will be extinguished in 2020 year. Landfill closure, post-closure cost is just estimate closure and post-closure care to landfill site in future years. Of that, $112,000 was management board. And then the last item, net long-term liabilities, that's debenture and loans related to all values recovery center. So not directly to the townships. So total liabilities decreased to just below 837,000, resulting in net assets of $3,592,049. So an increase of almost $1 million. Next area, non-financial assets. These are assets that aren't generally used to pay off short-term liabilities or obligations. Tangible capital assets. This is the gross amount of assets less amortization. There was a decrease of $447,000, which was a result of amortization of $1,374,000, and then also additions of $934,000. during the year. When we take a look at the schedule, we'll see a bit more detail about that. Inventories of supplies, just consists of fuel, gravel, and sand, and salt at the township at the year end, to change of about just under $10,000, and just relates to usage of the relating to paper pension. And prepaid expense, that's at all our waste management amount. So accumulated surplus for the municipality increased by just over 561,000. If we look down below, you can see how that surplus, what that surplus is comprised of. There's the equity and tangible capital assets of the 18,555,000, reserves and reserve funds of almost $4 million, and then the unfunded landfill closure of 174,000. The next statement is a statement of operating accumulated surplus. This statement includes the other value waste management. So I won't say excuse, but it's hard to get a really good picture of the municipality. So we'll skip ahead to page 15, which is this is called general operations, which we just did in the municipality. So this is just municipality. So we can see that the first area is the statement of net or municipal taxation. There was a 4.1% increase, and that's due to taxation rate, assessment values, supplementary write-offs during the year. Very close to budget, though, within $32,000. Government transfers, the first area is Ontario, the largest, is 1,300,000, almost 32,000. It consists of the municipal partnership funding of 573,000, modernization grants of 479,000. The grants or funding related to the flooding of just over 201,000, and then there's some minor amounts related to accessibility and aid grants. There's some difference between the budget and actual, just related to the flood grant revenue, and also modernization grants, and then also there was a unsuccessful grant application. Under Canada, amount, there's the OSIP amount. There's some funding used from OSIP, just over 91,000, and then the largest portion was the gas tax, just 350,000, and then summer employment grants of 13,500. And the differential was just the gas tax was fully utilized during the year versus the budget. And then other items comprise pretty much all the other revenue that the municipality may have. There was penalties and interest related taxation of 107,000, waste collection of just over 75,000, building permits of 32,000, but that was a decrease from just over 50,000 in 2018. And investment income of 22,000. So total revenue for the municipality was just over $5 million, $5,055,000 for fiscal year 2019. Under expenses, general government, that's the administration and council. Area, there's council wages of about 96,000, administration wages of 400,000, and materials of just over 200,000. And then within these amounts, there is also the amortization of the 1.3 million amortization. So in general government, there is amortization of just over $9,000. There was it did come in under budget, not just relates to the contract with asset. Protection of personal properties, that's fire, 316,000. Largest item is policing at just under 515,000, and building permits of 53,000. And it is over budget, but that is related to the flooding, so emergency measures just over $120,000 last Transportation services, within protection, there's also amortization of 47,000. Their transportation, that's the largest expense for the municipality. Their salaries of 428,000, materials of 437,000, and then also within the largest item is amortization of 1,265,000. Environmental, there is wages of 32,000, materials of 36,000, there's an insurance of 48,000 payments, and then also amortization of just over 5,000. The health services, that's the doctor's equipment of 23,000, and recreation and cultural services, there's a transfer to the library of 71,700, recreation is at 127,000, amortization of just over $6,000, resulting in expenses of $4,553,000, resulting in excess of revenue for expenses of just over $500,000 for the year. Next are transfers, and there was transfers. Two reserves of just about 900,000, 894,000. So that's the net amount. You take a look at the schedule of reserve, you'll see the two amounts, what was transferred and what's also taken out. And there's a transfers to equity and tangible capital assets. That's just the differential between capital purchases and the amortization for the year. So the net transfers netted out to 500 and 1,460, resulting in a change in surplus of nil balance during the year. So this is a consolidated statement of capital assets, and it's just segmented by function. So you can see the additions during the year. There was a small additions under general government and protection services. That was the largest portion of the rescue van that was purchased during the year of 127,000. And the largest area was transportation with the Black Creek Road work done with the OSIP money of 91,000, Grist Mill of 159,000, which was gas tax, Island View of 40,000, which was gas tax, and then there's also the Western Star that was purchased for 269,000. It utilized gas tax reserves and also taxation. And there was also the pickup truck that was purchased for that used taxation and reserves during the year. This is a schedule of reserve and reserve funds. So just you can see overall the municipality transferred 1,771,000 into reserves during the year, but there was also 800 down below it transferred. Here, there's transfers for operations and also TCA, capital assets of 853,680. So there's a change in reserves of 921,000. We started our year with reserves of just over 3 million and had an imbalances of 3,900,000 and almost 48,000. Within that, though, there is the Auto Valley Waste Management Board, just about 351,000 pounds. So the remaining balances are the municipalities.
Can I ask a question? So in our reserves, that's all we have allotted. Those are all our categories for reserves. There's nothing else.
Those are, I believe, within yours, you have it more segmented. We just don't have, we kind of, like say under transportation, I believe you have it segmented by different vehicles you're saving for and roads. We just, as under transportation or roads, will do that together. Okay. So there is more detail related to that. Just for statement purposes, we can provide that detail.
Okay, but in the end, our total reserves is actually that figure.
Less the waste recovery.
Just a question I had, Roy. So we talked about, or you're talking about 900,000 in reserves, but a big portion of that is for Lead Cemetery Road, right? That hasn't been spent. It was budgeted for last year, but didn't get spent last year.
Yes, if it was earmarked and then the road wasn't completed, you transfer it back to reserves and then that would come back out and then this fiscal year for that.
Thank you.
This is, I mentioned, this is just activity in the gas tax funding, as I mentioned before, provides detail of the revenue and also expenses, and then this area here is just the deferred revenue related to what this has been earmarked. And this has been earmarked by outside entities, so it's a little different than just internal. And then these amounts here, these are the amounts that the municipality collected on behalf of the school board. So this will be 167,000 for the school board and just over 1.7 million. That's all I have really for this statement. I'm not sure if anybody have any questions or anything.
Well, thank you very much for your report. I'll ask council if they have any questions. Okay.
I know one of the questions that comes up from a lot of people is the subject of reserves. And I know the accounting family discusses reserves a different way. You're including tangible and intangible assets. If we wanted to go and empty out our bank accounts now, how much money do we have between cash and investments that's not earmarked? That would be true in most people's eyes, savings or reserves.
You're kind of talking about two different things: being earmarked for something and how much cash you have. How much cash you have a year in, like you have now, but you have the 500 and in investments you had 556,000, and in cash you had 92, so you had just about 2,500,000. So what reserves are doing is you guys have, say, 743 in taxes. You don't have that money there at cash. So your reserves are kind of funding taxation and receivable balance.
So basically just like the float in your checking account at home. Basically is what some of that money is.
Yeah, like you need working capital balance because you're going to have fluctuations throughout the month or year just for running the municipality. And if you can't run that on it, it will balance. Yeah, so.
It's just a lot of people, there are people out there rightfully so that when they hear that number, you have, X million dollars in reserves, why are the taxes going down? Why isn't this happening? I think it's important that there be an understanding that money isn't necessarily found money or free money. It is accounted for in one way or another that it's needed, and that it's not just sitting there doing nothing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And just to add to that, I think there's members of the public who they will look at your audited statement and say, we have 3.9 million in reserves. When in actual fact, money that doesn't get spent on a road or a project, yes, it goes into reserves, but that doesn't mean that that's money that we're building for future work. It just means that we work that was delayed, that's not going to be done, and still has to be done. And that's where I think sometimes the public gets confused.
Yeah, like between your capital asset plan, most of the money is earmarked for something. So it's not like there's a big product that's, say, free money to do whatever. And the cost of those is astronomical. So it doesn't take long to go through the reserves. But as you know, like even the truck was what, 270,000, and you have 4 trucks, and you have to replace on 8 to 10 year periods, you have to build up the reserves to cover that cost.
Perhaps as a practical demonstration, the last check run was in excess of $1 million. And that was mostly road construction. A lot of road construction, but relative to the length of road in the township, not really.
I don't disagree with you. There's a misconception about reserves and what cash is on hand and what they're generally earmarked for something, or things come up in a municipality that are anticipated that you need a cash for. I think everyone should have savings.
I think that answers my question.
Right.
Yes.
I think it just continues to sort of segue from what your Councilor Buckwell was saying. It continues to be a contentious issue for us, especially when we're going through the budget period. Because, as you said, what's shown on paper is not cash in our pocket. And we're not able to get that across to the general public. We feel like we're hitting our head against a wall, kind of.
Yeah, well, I think if you're a general society, it's even savings. So most people don't save, so they have a hard time with reserve. But like when you're doing a reserve budget, you're looking at council should be like at least 10 years out. So even though it looks like there's a lot of capital expenditures in the next 10 years that the municipality has. So you can't just look at it, well, I want rain this year. That's not how it works.
Just one question, and it's right at the beginning on your notes, there were some recommendations you made regarding payroll and also some of the accounting practices, but I'm guessing that those are corrections that have already been done, but maybe you can just speak to it a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's it doesn't mean that all, like we only going through and find sums that don't have approval on them. And it can be just someone's away or something like that, but we're just recommending always to have them approved by them. It just kind of, I guess, reminds them to reinforce it as a strong control related to that. And then employee files. A lot of what we want there is like, so someone if something happens, if anyone in this housing, pick the file up and go, this is like the benefits, this is the pay, this is everything's in there, instead of having to try to reconstruct it. Because a lot of times you have a lot of knowledge and staff that like employees are being paid correctly. It's just if something happens to that staff or something like that, you lose all that knowledge. So it's good to have that in a file to reference, and if someone else who doesn't know just has to pick it up really quickly. And this was just, we found just some errors at HST when we were like going through and doing our checks. We were just recommending that even you can rely on a computer system, but sometimes you still should go over at a high level just to make sure, because everybody did this up, made mistakes. And you can believe them. You can't always believe the facts that's there, just to do a high level review of that. And that's kind of the same thing as the general ledger accounts, just that they're gone through and reconciled on a timely basis and reviewed throughout the year, just not the year.
I guess my question is just the staff, because this was a review of last year. I would assume you've already followed up on some of these changes.
To an extent, yes. Sort of in set back a little bit by the remote workplace, is that somewhat detached from our records, but we are attempting to get on top of that. We will commit to get it fixed by next year.
Well, yeah, COVID has turned everything upside down, so. Requires a different way to do business. Thank you. I have no further questions. Any other from council?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for that presentation. And I have a resolution here that council accepts the financial report from Rory Richards and Associates as presented. We're going to move in a second. Moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Burke. Councilor Buckwell?
Yes.
Councilor Burke?
Yes.
Councilor Rector-Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Yes. That's carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening. Good evening. So our next delegation is the fire department, and Rob Richard is going to talk to us about automobile education.
Good evening, folks. How's everyone tonight? Good. Nice to see you, people getting out and about somewhat with all that's going on. Okay, automobile extrication. What we're working on, what we have is a business plan here, so to speak, for you guys to ponder. Just a bit of a history is, years ago, most of the townships were provided extrication from, there was county units placed everywhere in the township. Through amalgamation, most of the townships got their own equipment. There's only a handful left in the county that don't have their own equipment. So this business plan is for you people to ponder why we would like to and why we think we should have our own extrication, also known as the Jaws of Life, in North Algona Wilberforce. So the need for it, as the number of fires are decreasing over the years, number of automobile accidents are increasing. With the increase in vehicle incidents comes increased potential for rescue traffic victims, patients. Just some statistics as this was presented, number of MVC calls in the last few years. 10 in 2017, 6 in 18, 11 in 19. Current services for NEW Fire, at present we are contract out our extrication service to our neighbors in Wilshire Valley. Current agreement has an annual fee of $1,000 before vehicle movement from Wilshire Valley, so that's administrative costs, keeping everything current and updated. Once Wilshire Valley has a call and gets a vehicle on the road, they receive $500 per hour, minimum 1 hour call out. So if they get halfway to the scene and they're canceled, told that they're not required, and they turn around and go home, that's $500.
Does that happen?
It happens often.
And why would it happen? Like why?
Because what happens in the area is, if they're coming from Wilshire Valley and we have an accident at 41 and Beeline in Rankin, the time lapse for us to get there and say, yes, we need extrication, now they page them, now they have to get to the hall, they have to leave, there's a huge time lapse in there. Meanwhile, somebody is potentially having life-threatening issues in a vehicle, and there's not a lot that can be done until they get there. So what happens generally in the county is, depending on what information that the bystander, the ambulance people give to dispatch, generally, they will automatically tier Rankin for suppression, Wilshire Valley for extrication. The ambulance gets there, they find out extrication isn't required, then the call is put out, you don't need you to go.
Councilor Burns, you had a question?
You know how much we would pay Wilshire Valley in a year? It depends on the number.
I don't have a year total, and the reason being is because there's so many variables, like 1 year you could have a file of calls, 1 year not so many. And the duration of the incident is another thing. Like you could have, depending on the severity of the accident, you could have them there for an hour, you could have them there for 4 hours. So there's a lot of variables there to throw out a figure for a yearly thing. I can't really do that. NAW Fire Department also responds to the same incidents to provide suppression services while the extrication is being done. So again, any accidents in NAW, we're responding as well because of the suppression end of it. Okay, there's always a chance when the extrication is going on with fuel spills, stuff like that, that there's potential for a fire. And when Wilshire Valley comes, they're generally showing up with a tube van with the rescue equipment, unless it's some of the area that's first response agreement. So if a fire was to break out and we weren't there, they would have minimal capabilities to put it out. So some of the drawbacks of the contracted services, you have 2 fire departments sending resources to the same incident. So Eganville's leaving their area, coming out here. Spending annual fees to other townships for services we could provide to our own township. Okay, we have our fire vehicles, we have some extrication, basic hand tools and stuff right now that we use. There's also the time delay factor, waiting on another fire department to respond to an incident. And manning turnover. A lot of times that can't be controlled. We have a very good nucleus of people in the NAW Fire Department. And I know a lot of our neighbors experience a lot of turnover in manpower. So the experience, the knowledge, the training, it could be there, but it could not be. And at any given time, you could have 6 of the newest people showing up on a truck, or you could have 8 of the most experienced people showing up on a truck. You don't know that until the situation arises. So we also have the 2 major highways in the township, are Highway 60 and Highway 41. Both highways see a dramatic increase in traffic during the summer months, estimated by the MTO traffic counter, 3,000 vehicles per day. These highways are billable to MTO for services provided on a per hour supplementing cost to the township for responses. So on those major highways, any situation, any accident that we get, we turn around and bill the MTO for resources and manpower. That being said, I know I hate using this term, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyways. You people probably see, and a lot of other people, the fire department as a drain on the township because we provide a service, but we don't bring anything back to the township other than safety. So billing MTO calls, it's a way of us helping provide some cost to supplement fire department resources, et cetera, on these type of calls.
That's what we're.
Will we get 100% back from the MPO on them calls? Or would it be just?
What you bill, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong here, but what's billed to the MTO is generally a $470 per hour per vehicle. So if we show up there with a rescue vehicle, a pumper and a tanker, that's 3 vehicles at $470 per hour. And then I believe I have it in here later on too. There's also a per hour, per man wage supplement, and that all gets billed to the MTO at the end of the situation.
Would Bolshevik Valley be billed in there too if they came out?
Currently, yes, they do a billing to the MTO as well.
They do that on their own then?
No, it's, let me just jump in for a second.
Yep.
The township is responsible for the area, it being our municipality is the only one allowed to bill. But if they come out and provide services for us, we can put in a bill on their behalf.
Okay.
And then you just send them.
Yeah, they're just gonna turn around, they're gonna send us an invoice anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's $485 an hour per vehicle. Currently, there's approximately $3,000 worth of invoices submitted for approval to the MTO right now.
Is that for 2019?
No, it's for stuff that's not on this year.
This year, no.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's not including the last Saturday. We go like, we haven't done that one yet.
Can we claim that one because he came off Highway 60?
I'm certainly gonna try. We may not approve it, but
Physical addresses on Highway 60, right?
And he did come
Yeah,
across,
roadside,
right from the right hand lane, took out a road sign and proceeded into the road.
Yeah. Okay.
Some of the benefits of us doing our own extrication, there's not that extra time delay waiting for additional fire department response. There's no annual fees paid out to other townships for services that may or not be used, and that's where we get into, we're paying money out for administration, plus we're paying extra money when they come and they get turned around and they're not required. Not duplicating services, one department providing the suppression and the extrication. It's an additional service to the ratepayers that live and travel through the area all the time. The tools in question, specialty tools in question for extrication, can also be used during other fire department activities, for example, forcible entry, vehicle fires, stuff like that. And we also have the possibility of contracting their services to neighboring municipalities, because I know Douglas right now doesn't have their own extrication and Laurentian Valley doesn't have their own. Go ahead.
So would you need to charge a life at both our stations, or would just one station cover the township?
Well, geographically, 2 sets would be ideal, but we're talking quite a large price. That would be for the fire department to sort out where things are going to be, who's going to respond to where. Right now, our biggest thing is to get the blessing of the higher ups to go ahead with this. And again, there's some perks that we would have to work out as the fire department. It would be between Kevin and myself and a few others, we would put together a business plan as to, yeah, we're going to get it and where it's going to be and how it's going to be responded to. But right now, Bolshevik Valley covers right up to our far border.
Yeah.
So having it anywhere in our township right now would be beneficial. So,
Councilor Robinson.
Yes, I'm just curious, what is the cost of something like that?
I have that a little farther down here.
Jumping ahead.
Okay. So tools and equipment, we've had a couple companies that deal in the jobs of life come in and do kind of a demo and hands-on, let us play with some stuff. We've used both hydraulic, which run off a little portable motor, and we've used battery operated tools. Initial purchase we've come up with would be a cutting tool, spreading tool, hydraulic ram, and airbags for lifting. And depending if you go with the hydraulic tool, you would need a power unit. Initial cost based on the 2019 budget pricing is $55,000 for the tools. And there's also a possibility there of some of that being supplemented through some community service groups. Additional purchases or equipment could be purchased through regular budgeting as needed. So when we're doing up our yearly budget, if we find that there's little odds and ends, because it's like everything else, there's necessities to get the job done, and then there's some nice to haves. So if the nice to have kind of things, we could always work through our regular tool and equipment budget. And also initial specialized training included with the purchase of tools. So if you do make a purchase, whatever company you go with, they send their trainers in and their tech people. They come in, they go over the tools with you. They provide you with a couple of days of what they call in-service training, basic training before you throw it on the truck and think you're ready to go. This is just a picture here of some of the tools from one of the suppliers we had, this being your large cutter jaws, this here being your spreading tool, and then it's hard to see, but the telescopic ram comes out in about 3 sections and opens up to about 54 inches. Training, the North Fire Department currently trains on extrication because we do respond to these types of calls as needed. And so we need to keep up to date on the vehicle hazards, scene hazards, vehicle stabilization, patient removal, as we do assist Gosher Valley when they do show up with the tools. And we also have many members on our fire department that are employed within Garrison, Petaluma, and CNL Fire that have some extensive training in auto extrication. So it wouldn't be a huge issue to maintain skills in-house rather than having to pay somebody to come in every year or whatever to provide extra training. Cost recovery, as mentioned, any calls on our main highways are billable to the MTO. Some of these figures are a little bit off.
Recently been updated.
So our MTO rate per apparatus, and there is an hourly rate per firefighter. Potential for service to be contracted out again, whether it be Laurentian Valley, Douglas, those are our 2 big ones. I know like Laurentian Valley has that whole Mixburg area there that's wide open. And there's also potential to bill the insurance companies to residents outside the township if the services are required. So just in summary, this presentation was to demonstrate why us as the North Fire Department would like to engage in providing extrication for our residents. And many of the members of the Curtin Fire Department have training to provide the service. Our department doesn't have a huge turnover in manning, so the knowledge and experience would stay for a while. It's another service to provide our residents, both seasonal and full-time. Initial cost to set up is seems like a lot, but over a long period of time, it's a small price to pay to provide a potential life-saving service for the residents that live and work in the area. Any other questions? Yeah.
Does the equipment have a long lifespan, or is it something that every 5 years you have to replace it, or 10 years? I imagine it has to be licensed of some sort, but like Do they
The technical people from the companies can do an annual service. And as long as it's running up to par, there's no need really to update. Like right now, the big push is on battery tools, where some people are still liking the hydraulic tools. I mean, like anything else, they can break, they're repairable, but as long as they're functioning as they're designed to function, there's no need to replace them like they don't have a shelf life or an expected duration. Because you have like the city of Ottawa that could use theirs 10 times a day, and we could use ours once a week. So, and I mean, the city of Ottawa, places like that run equipment 5, 10, 15 years before they replace it. And so that has a lot to do with it too, is the use and stuff like that.
Yeah, that 55,000, that would set up one station.
Yes.
Everything.
Anyone else?
Well,
Okay.
I thank you very much for your presentation. Council will certainly have to take a look at it, I guess, when it comes to budgets. I'd like to get into the finances a little more, look at what it's costing us now or what it's cost us the last 3 years, and then compare it to what it would cost to set up our own department.
Okay.
That would certainly help us come budget.
And maybe in addition to that, like the billable hours, like, you know what I mean? So like, you know, when you talked about if we had our own jobs, we could have, you know, had this much money income coming in versus us.
The nice thing about doing our own is, you're not relying on another department when we have manpower, like we have the people that are trained and willing to do it. We've got the equipment, we've got the locations. Again, to me, it's going to come down to the dollars for a lot of it, because we do have an agreement with another township. But again, if we can do this ourselves, it's got benefits to go even beyond that, because it also means that now your members are going to be doing more, which keeps them more active and more interested, which helps with retention of volunteers. So there's a whole bunch of upsides to doing this. But yeah, I think we have to look at some numbers to get a better idea.
Well, thank you very much for your time and attention to that, and hopefully, I also have a pamphlet here. If you're interested, there's a couple little brochures if you wanted to look at a couple of different types. I don't know if you want to get into that or not, or just, but this is a Whole Natural book, which is one of the companies that did come up for us. And we have another couple of pamphlets here. But there's
One other question I would have, the equipment that you purchased, would you be looking at something that's similar to what BB has, so that training, I mean, like you say, quite often you end up at the same scene with the same department. Is there any advantage to having the same type of equipment?
Yes and no. If one department is battery and one is hydraulic, there isn't. But if the neighboring townships stay battery, like your batteries are all interconnectable, if they're the same brand. Like if we go, for example, Hearst Tools, I know that's what Going for Valley's running right now. The batteries, everything is compatible. If you went Whole Natural, the stuff isn't really compatible. The tools are slightly different, but they're designed for the same job. And the chances are, if there's something that is going to involve two townships working together on an expectation, it's going to be like a multi-vehicle thing. So it's going to be like they're using their tools on that vehicle, we're using our tools on this vehicle. Training, the theory end of it, and the hazards and situations like that are all the same. Car accident is got the same hazards, whether you have this tool or this tool. So that's the only thing where you would run into, like, if you have a long drawn out thing, like maybe some batteries or a power unit is interchangeable, but the chances of us calling, say, Ultra Valley to come and bring us batteries or something, that should never happen.
Yeah, if you want to leave your information
Sure.
to staff, then, council can have a look at it. Thank you very much.
Magic word should.
Thank you.
All right.
I don't know if you have.
Hang on, before you get started, I have a resolution, that council accepts the fire department extrication presentation of information. Can I get a move in a second? Moved by Councilor Berg, seconded by Councilor Reggie. Councilor Buckle? Yes. Councilor Berg?
Yes.
Councilor Reggie.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes,
Yes, for myself, that's carried. Thank you very much. And Mr. Clark, you're welcome to go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you, James. Good to see everybody out. Unfortunately, my presentation is not a cost-saving presentation because it's our biggest assets in the fire department as a replacement plan. But the good thing is it is carried out over probably 30 years. This presentation has been presented, I believe, twice in the past. It has been updated right up until 2019 and a little bit into next year with our new pumper that's on order. So as you can see right now, those are the trucks we currently have in service. Our mission statement is the objective of this working group is to project a replacement schedule for the fire apparatus from the Algona Wilberforce Fire Department. Information has been gathered from many sources, specifically the Underwriters Laboratories of Canada, Standards of Fire Apparatus, the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, Ontario Fire Marshal Advisor, an insurance advisory organization, advisor, and many other resources. So the standards and specifics, the Fire Underwriter Survey, or FOOS, dwelling protection grade determines the cost of a home fire insurance in our township by a rating scale based on the amount of fire protection. Currently, our township is 3B to 5. 3B is the rating we would love to see across our township. 3A would be great, but since we are down a tanker, we took out of service last year or the year before, we're probably not going to be able to do the water shuttle certification. And we will never hit a 2 or a 1 because we do not have hydrants throughout the township. Does anybody have any questions on the rating? What is there? This area that we're currently in right now, I believe, is a 5. Rankin, Golden Lake, Eganville, closer to Fort Shoe, Grist Mill are all 3B, and Deacon is also a 5. Dwelling protection grade requirements for each fire hall with a dwelling protection grade 3B. The fire apparatus must include the following: a minimum of a triple combination pumper rated at not less than 3,000 liters per minute, or 625 imperial gallons per minute at 150 psi, and has to have a minimum of 1 mobile water supply or tanker apparatus with a minimum rating capacity of 4,000 liters or 880 imperial gallons, with a permanently mounted fire pump with a minimum rated capacity of 1,000 liters per minute at 1,000 kPa or 210 imperial gallons per minute at 150 psi net pump pressure. And the combined water carried on those trucks must be at least 6,820 liters or 1,500 imperial gallons. Our tankers currently are 2,000 gallons plus. The ULC states a pumper fire rating apparatus triple combination pumper must have a truck engine driven pump with a minimum rating of 625 gallons per minute or 750 US gallons per minute. Have a minimum water tank capacity of 250 gallons or 300 US gallons. Have a minimum equipment storage capacity of 39 cubic feet and carry a minimum equipment required in the certified apparatus. The apparatus minimum standards. FOOS has additional requirements relating to the fire apparatus. Each station requires a frontline pumper and tanker to be considered for a 3B rating. So the frontline pumper apparatus must not be older than 20 years. The frontline tanker apparatus must not be older than 20 years. Second line apparatus pumpers and tankers may be recognized for an additional 5 years in addition to a frontline apparatus. Apparatus over the 25 years of age are not recognized. And we do have a couple of trucks that are over the 25 years. So I took this right off the Fire Underwriter website, just so that there's specifics of where we got this information. If you notice all the way to the right, the small communities and rural centers, 0 to 15 years is first line duty. 15 to 20 years is still a first line. 20 to 25 years, it either has no rating or it's in second line duty. And after the 25 years, it's either a reserve or it doesn't have a rating. 30 years plus, doesn't matter where you are, they're not grading it. I believe we do have one truck, but it's not a pumper or a tanker that's 30 years. This one here, it just goes through the annual testing for each apparatus and which organization is specifically involved in that testing. If you need to go through each one of them.
And so all your apparatus get tested once a year, or just on the anniversary of its like 14th year?
No, they get tested. The pumpers are annually. Yeah, and same with other from other ladders and stuff. They're all getting tested. The tankers, I don't think they're necessarily tested.
And tankers are not.
We will do them in-house, and we do them weekly.
So it gets back to what we were talking about before with the Jaws for Life. So like our truck could get used once a month, but a similar truck in Ottawa could get used once a day.
It might not be parked for 24 hours.
So the problem with that is, like, I mean, ours has the same time constraints and restrictions as the one in Toronto.
Actually, go back to the slide.
Yeah,
There are
they're
rural communities, smaller communities, there is a, they do allow you to use them much longer.
Okay, so they would look at it, because it kind of makes sense to me, because the working wouldn't be the same as in a.
Exactly, so the first one, major cities on the left.
yeah. So you see there's 0 to 15 front line, and 15 to 20 are already reserved.
Yeah.
And the same second line for a medium sized city. And then at the bottom, they give you the actual specifics of what they classify as a major city, a medium community, or a small community.
Okay, that's better,
Better?
that's better.
So our current apparatus in Golden Lake, so we have 3 trucks. We have a frontline pumper, which expired in 2016. It's in 1996. It holds 850 gallons of water. It's been moved to second line status in 2016 and it loses all accreditation next year. We have a tanker, which is fairly new, 2014. It holds 2,500 gallons of water. It doesn't move until second line status until 2034 and should be replaced by 2039. We have a medium rescue, which is a walk-in body, so you can walk in the back right up to the cab. It's a 1992. Will have reached its projected 30-year service, and it should be planned for replacement. Now, later on, we have a schedule set out, and some of them do go past their due dates, but we also do realize the township doesn't have a limitless bank account, so we're trying to space them out of when we feel that they should be looked at being purchased.
And what happens to the ones that are put on the shelf? Like, does another fire department or a random person or?
We found that a lot of fire departments up north in rural areas or even out of province sometimes pick them up. Sometimes it's just people looking for a truck and chassis.
Okay.
And they get rid of the apparatus body of the pump and use it for construction.
And how do you sell them? Is there like a website to go to or Kijiji or?
The last one we sold went on Kijiji, and I believe Stephen put it on a couple other sites as well, just to see.
The
We
last
have,
one, the last one that I still remember being sold, it's being used as a dump truck, like in Ventura Township. Not by the township, but it's by the.
Right, okay.
And our old rescue truck, our 4.2, went down to Calabogie, and they were using it as a kind of equipment tool truck.
Okay.
The trucks still have uses. They have low kilometers, they could have high hours, because they're not traveling far, but they could be running at a scene for 2, 6, 8, 12, 24 hours. And not shutting down. So the hour ratings on them, our trucks do not have hour meters on them. We don't know how many hours they're actually on them, just how many kilometers. In Deacon, currently we have pumper 9661, which lost all accreditation in 2018. It has an 840 gallon per minute pump, holds 850 gallons of water. It was moved to second line status in 2013, and as I said, lost all accreditation in 2018. It will be taken out of service once the new pumper arrives, which is on order. In Rankin, pumper 960 is a 2009 5,000 liter per minute pump with 4,200 liters of water. It doesn't move to second line status until 2029, loses accreditation in 2034. We have the one tanker, which is 2,500 gallons of water. It's moved to the second line status in 2014, and it lost all accreditation last year. Our late rescue, we just acquired it last year, is our Ford 4x4. It's a Rosenbauer make. It's got a walk around. It holds rescue equipment. It's got 2 SCBAs on spare bottles that carry their forestry stuff or light extrication tools. It's got the scene lighting, generator, portable pumps. It's expected to last for 30 years. So we're good until 2049.
So what do you do with that little tanker if it's lost accreditation? Do you still use it?
We're still using it. It still runs good. It has had some major repairs in the last couple of years, but we can't get rid of it. We need to have a tanker. So we had an option. The one that was in the Beacon, the old Bertha is what we called it. It was done. It was rotting out. It was getting to the point where you couldn't repair it anymore, and it had lost accreditation 10, 12 years ago.
Okay.
But it was starting to get dangerous on the road.
So it's
the
kinda
officer,
like-
I believe, had pulled it off the road.
So that one's safe, but it's just when you do that accreditation, they're not recognized.
That's right.
So for insurance purposes and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
Like the 3D status.
Yeah. I mean, you could use a truck for 50 years if you wanted, but you lost accreditation back
Right.
25 years ago.
What does it mean when you say you lost accreditation? How does that impact you with insurance?
There's quite a few insurance companies that will ask how close you are to a fire hall or a hydrant. And once they've processed your insurance, the FOOS ratings are on the website. I believe Kevin does have a map of where our areas are, and they can look it up and they can determine whether they want to charge you a couple $100 a month or $1,000 a month because of your fire protection.
I see.
Yeah, so it's your own personal insurance as opposed to the insurance of the truck.
Yes.
That's really good. So that makes sense to me why you could still use it, except as a tax or ratepayer in the township.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
If
not
all
getting
our-
a benefit.
if all our trucks were over 25 years old, we'd be a 5 rate. We could still have a fire department,
Right.
but you wouldn't be accredited and you probably have ratepayers who are paying insurance, or they wouldn't have insurance. at all.
You wouldn't get any benefit.
Yeah,
You'd be paying more on your insurance than would cost the taxes to replace the vehicle.
yeah. If you'd like to check with some of the outer skirts townships that don't have fire service and ask them what they're paying for insurance in their house, probably quite a few of them who don't have insurance in their house.
Well, I know when Rankin went in our insurance, person said, yeah, it'll go down, right, just because of Rankin and our proximity to the farm.
I know my insurance company personally, because the dry hydrants at Snake River, they classify it as a hydrant. I do get a little bit of a break. Where I've heard of other that do not because of just the rating that they're sitting in, which is a 5,
Right.
which is here, but we do have the dry hydrant there for water.
Right.
Even though I live across from a lake, it's still, where's the hydrant? It's not where the water is, it's where the hydrant is.
Just for the benefit of time, because we have quite a long meeting tonight, so maybe we'll just figure to go through the whole presentation and save our questions. So,
No problem. So the truck that is not assigned to a station is our 2000 Ford half ton, which is used as a command post equipment transport. It holds bottles, stuff oxygen for taking, get refilled at base September. It's used for fire prevention, bylaw enforcement, taking personnel to courses, forestry. It's basically your multi-tool truck. It's used for a little bit of everything. So our priorities, according to, if we want to keep a 3B rating in the areas that we have it, 9661 will be taken out of service when the new pumper arrives this coming year. The tender has been awarded and it's in production. Golden Lake Station will then have a frontline pumper and a tanker to maintain its 3B rating. An estimated cost to replace this truck is around $475,000. 9664, which was the Golden Lake pumper, now is going to get moved to Deacon, even though it loses accreditation next year. It's still a better pumper than what's there now. Next year, we're looking to replace the 9739 tanker, which it lost accreditation in 2018, and that would bring Rankin back up to a 3B, because it would now have a frontline pumper and a frontline tanker, and an estimated cost to replace a tanker is around $250,000. Year 2023, we're looking to replace our half ton. It's starting to get quite a few rust spots. There have been multiple repairs done on it. It's probably the most inexpensive to replace at roughly $55,000. Year 2024, and I know at the start, over the next 5 years, everything seems to be going quick, but you have to remember our fleet is getting old, but once these are all in place, we can space them out more, which you'll see coming later on with the truck we've already replaced, that the years start getting 5 years apart, so we can actually build up reserves for them. In 2024, our walk-in rescue, it doesn't have an accreditation rating to it. It's just getting old. It's 30 years, we've been getting quite a few repairs done on it. An estimated cost to replace it is about $200,000. So now we're in 2 years from 2024 to 2026. We're looking to replace the pumper from Golden Lake that gets moved to Deacon next year. So that it can, because Rankins will soon be done. Okay. So we don't have a surplus pumper to just put it in its spot. So we spaced this one out to try and get a new pumper in place. Then Golden Lake, or Rankin's pumper can go to Deacon. Rankin will get the new one. Golden Lake has one that's 4 years old. So now all the areas have a 3B rating. Or 4, sorry, in Deacon. 4 would be Deacon because they don't have a tanker. But it's close to a 3B, better than 5. Now we jump 3 more years ahead to 2029, which is when pumper 9660 is due. And as you can see, then it becomes a cycle of we're being able to keep our 2 main stations with frontline equipment, and Deacon still has frontline stuff, but it's constantly moving out, and that's kind of the last place for it to go. And 2034, it's just that it's getting retired because it's now hitting its 25-year mark. So that's the newest pumper we have in your fleet right now, but the newest one is coming. And if you notice the price, we've noticed that the price has been going up on pumpers quite a bit every year. What was this one originally? Do you remember? 325?
I don't think it was that high.
No.
They're around 300.
Around 300, and the new one that is coming is 470. 72. So you can see it's quite a jump in 10 years.
The works and standards changes that required the new one had to have features that were mandated.
So the truck you see in the previous is what the new truck is going to look like going into Golden Lake for their front line. Tanker 9738, which is the newest tanker we have in your fleet, will be 20 years old at this point, and it'll be moved into second line status until 2039. And we're figuring it's gonna be roughly around $250,000 for this. Now we're into 2039, when this tanker is end of life. And that should be the end of it. So that is all the trucks in our fleet.
Thank you very much, Mark.
You're welcome.
Quite a bit of information to digest.
Yeah, it's a lot, and I know you're really tight time constraints, so I try to go through it fairly quickly, but you do have all the information in PowerPoint with all the estimated costs in the years. So, any questions on the trucks?
Singing to the choir here.
I know.
No, what I like to see, what I like that I'm seeing is that there's a game plan in how to transition.
Yeah, and the fire underwriters actually mandated us to have a game plan, because if we don't, we're probably in trouble.
They like to see the game plan because that tells you that you plan is working forward, so they don't necessarily go in the day your vehicle expires and say, okay, you're ready to go. They say, okay, you got a plan, work towards it, and work with it.
And you have to remember that when you order a truck, it can take up to a year and a half to 2 years to build to get. So we're looking at the years that we are given there, that those are the expiry dates of them.
So we have to do 2 years.
So we're looking, even the year of, at least it's there and it's on order.
Our current one is forecast to be delivered in March next spring.
And that was what purchased last year or ordered last year.
Yeah, right before Christmas.
So that gives you the timeline. And pretty well every truck is the same, whether it's an equipment truck, a tanker, a pumper, they all take quite a bit of time to build. The only one that's probably the easiest one is the half ton. You can go to a dealership, pick it up, put a cap on it, away we go. Okay,
Well, thank you very much.
you're welcome.
I have a resolution that council accepts the fire department apparatus replacement plan as information. Moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Schoenfeld. Councilor Buckwald,
Yes.
Councilor Byrne,
Yes.
Councilor Schoenfeld,
Yes,
Councilor Robinson,
Yes,
myself, yes, that's carried, thank you. Item 8.1, I have a resolution that council accepts the report and instructs staff to proceed with a plan that accommodates the fire department needs in the existing building. Secondly, that Public Works vacates the building, moving all equipment to the Shaw Roads garage. And further, a plan to accommodate the requirements of Public Works be incorporated into the 2021 budget. I'm going to move in a seconder. Moved by Councilor Buckwald, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Comments? Questions, Councilor Reagan?
because I'm really unfamiliar about what's there in Public Works. Maybe could you tell me? And then secondly, just tell me what the volunteer firefighters use there, so I kind of get an idea of what's going on.
So start with the public works. Presently, one bay of the Woodland Lake Fire Hall is occupied by public works. We keep one of our plow trucks there and our sidewalk equipment in the winter. It's used mostly in the winter as a base for our plow trucks, so these are sand sheds. It is used somewhat less frequently other times of the year, but basically in the winter every day, the vehicle's in there. The fire department and what goes on at the fire department, I'll hand it over to the chief to describe what they presently have there.
The other 3 days are currently by the frontline pumper, tanker, and the rescue vehicle that you saw in the presentation. And that's where the guys keep the bunker gear. And it's pretty much it. It's a garage. It's not a fire hall.
So, the one Public Works fellow, does he share an office or does he have, it sounded like in the report, he has this spot there?
So in the facility, and that's part of the reason why the fire department needs to increase the size of the facility, there's no quote office in that building. It's just as the fire chief stated, the garage. It has basically 3 bays for the fire department, 1 bay for public works. So the public works worker that's based out of there in the winter. Yes, there's a washroom there with very rudimentary facilities. There's no office space. It's basically a place for the truck and do some maintenance on the truck and for the sidewalk equipment to be in. It's basically a garage that's being used as a dispatch for winter equipment and basically to support in the summer season.
Okay, thanks.
So maybe just a little bit more on what we have in the report and how we got to where we are now. So council approved the $65,000 for a portable building. We put out a tender for the portable building. There were no bidders on the tender. Could it be COVID? Maybe. But we also had some pretty detailed specifications too. So the long story short, we didn't get it. We didn't get a bid. The fire department did look at some other possible options of purchasing a building. And recently the fire chief came back with a suggestion that we use the actual building for the fire department and the public works can move. So very important for the fire department, and the chief can explain this. This isn't about having like space and I heard earlier that, you know, the things we'd like to have and things we need. This is a requirement for the workers to have the basic necessities, and it also is an efficiency. So basically right now, and again, I take delivery to the chief, their bunker gear is beside the truck. So when you start the truck up, you're throwing the exhaust into the bunker gear that the guys are going to put on. And not only that, but they're trying to put the bunker gear on beside the truck as you're doing that. So there's no facility to properly store equipment. There's a good possibility that Fred can't find his helmet because it's on Tim's hook. You know, what the fire department is looking for in that building was to have proper bunker gear storage, which are similar to a big cage for each set of bunker gear where they can be vented and properly kept. The other part of the facilities is the shower facilities. When a firefighter comes back from a fire, and you can stop me anytime you want to, there's no facility to clean that firefighter himself. If he gets a chemical on him or anything, there's nothing there, which is a requirement. And even in some of the chemicals that can be used by the fire department, if you look at the MSDS sheet, it says to wash for 20 minutes after, you know, exposure. It's pretty hard to do if you don't even have a facility. So the fire department is very appreciative that they have the upstairs of Golden Lake now for a training facility, and they realize they're not going to get the super new fire hall, but they still need to have that basic necessities of life, which is the shower facilities, storage facilities, and some sort of office facility. It's easiest to build right at the public works bay right now. You could put a new bay on the very end and make it all nice and neat for the fire department. It doesn't make sense you walk past the plow truck to get to the fire department. Also, you're increasing or decreasing the available footprint for other operations outside. So the proposal that the fire department brought, well, we can do our $65,000 within the building. We just pick the public works up. With the shell game of where things end up, the reality of this, if public works leaves, there has to be some sort of accommodation eventually for public works. Could public works come here for a year? Maybe that would work out. But maybe not. We're down the road. But there is room at Golden Lake to build another public works garage. And we looked at a 40 by 42 garage, and that would be beside the sand shed, the salt shed actually. And there's another storage building, you know, all to the left of or to the right of the sand shed. You could build onto that building so you have a cold storage that's secure behind. The problem that, you know, the whole thing is, it all sounds very nice, but you had $65,000 and that may cover the bill. But now public works is out on the street, and where are you going to get the money to build something? So one thing you do have the availability to use is your efficiency funding that you got, $479,000. So we would recommend that efficiency funding be used exclusively for what you're doing with the fire hall because it fits the categories. The efficiency funding was given to you without strings. In our CAO's meeting last 2 weeks ago, the province is saying it doesn't have any strings, but now we want to talk to you about what the strings are. So basically, they want us to be using that money. This is a very good use of your efficiency funds because again, the chief can speak. I think your response times are going to be down just because the guys get ready and they're not tripping over everybody. And you've improved the safety of the firefighters and you've given them some facilities to do other work. So if you used exclusively the efficiency funds, then you have $65,000 for the public works building. Unfortunately, you couldn't build a 40 by 42 foot garage for $65,000. It's probably going to be closer to $85,000. But now it's only $20,000 more. So our recommendation is to do it now. You have got great momentum in the Golden Lake Fire Department. I've heard complaints, which I've brought forth to council, that going to Golden Lake for fire practice, there's no parking because the parking lot's full.
It's a good problem to have.
That's a good problem to have. So I hear really good things, and we have our officers meeting that I attend. There's more interest in Golden Lake. In fact, there's been 2 more recently.
That's correct.
So you've got good momentum in the fire department and great momentum with Golden Lake. You're delivering what the firefighters need. They have a training facility. It's not ideal. It's not the same building. But now we need the basic necessities of life and safety and health for these workers and efficiency. So the recommendation is to allow the fire department to start right now. It's not much of a hindrance to public works at the moment because it's summer and we're not plowing too much, hopefully. We could try to limit through the winter if we had to. The biggest issue will be the sidewalk plowing and whether we decide to contract it or find another place of garage that we can store, or we go ahead with the public works building if that's possible, which might be a great stimulus for the economy in the area that have building going on this year with the COVID thing. So it's up to council. The chief's available right now for questions. I'm not going to answer questions, but that's our concept. Build it now. They can do it within the original budget, but I'm suggesting using the efficiency funds for it and using the $65,000 to go towards whatever you're doing in public works.
Councilor Robinson, and then Councilor.
The first question that comes to mind is it going to be big enough?
We've gone through, we've had meetings with the senior officers. Then we mapped everything out. We laid tape on the floor, and we think we can make it work within the available space. So we've gone through about 15 different revisions.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I guess my question is, are you just doing it to make do, or?
Would a entirely new building be preferable? Absolutely, but we got to be realistic. We're going to work within our means.
It won't be spacious by any means, but we've been able to fit in the essential. We've been able to fit in suitable storage for the bunker gear, suitable washrooms, suitable shower facilities, and a min office, the equipment to clean our bunker gear, the extractor equipment. We basically found room to put all that stuff in the existing footprint of basically the one bay and the partial piece. So if we can move the truck out of there over to the other side with the roads, we can make it fit.
And so how much does that retrofit, how much are you looking at spending for that retrofit?
The retrofit, we're anticipating using the 65,000.
But that's it, right? Like, because when you talk about the efficiency grant, the 460,000, and we weren't using the whole 460,000, we were using a portion. No, because I was just trying to.
Unless you wanted to.
No, because I just want to make sure, because it's like, I'm thinking 65,000, and then Andrew said, I'm
Oh, what's going on there?
No,
I thought you said 85,000.
No, for the shed,
For
what
the
you do
public
is,
works building.
you go
Okay,
to
sorry.
65 over and 65.
Okay.
That kind
I
of-
anticipated using that 65,000.
Okay,
So just for council, you've allowed the fire department to have the 65,000 between the rest of council and the treasurer, myself, will come up with how we're, where that money's coming from, but they only have 65. So if we can put it as the efficiency, so the protection for council is they can't go over the 65.
right.
They're stuck there.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure that I was on the same page.
Councilor Burke.
So if you take the fire truck over to the right hand side of the public works and you make that into the funky computer, you put a wallet and watching everything on that.
That's correct. I do have the, some printouts of the proposed layout if you're interested afterwards.
I think it's important, sorry,
Yeah.
I think it's important that we go ahead. I mean, this has been
No.
on the, on council's plate for over 8 years. And I know we've talked about it numerous times, and I think we're in a great position right now that we have a workable solution. And I think we should go ahead.
That's taking money away sufficient, 65,000. And that was still need the 65,000 for the public works down the road.
Which
Now,
will
if we
take-
chose to make a shed.
Yeah.
That's right.
The original 65 that had already been allocated.
Yeah,
Seeing no further questions, then I'll call for the vote. Councilor Buckles,
Yes.
Councilor Burke?
Can you read the resolution?
Sure. The council accepts the report and instructs staff to proceed with a plan that accommodates the fire department needs in the existing building. And the public works vacates the building, moving all equipment to the Shaw Works garage. And further, a plan to accommodate the requirements of public works be incorporated into the 2021 budget.
Thank you.
Councilor Burke?
Yes.
Councilor Reddy-Junko?
Yes,
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
And yes, that's carried. Thank you. Councilor Burke?
Okay, we have $65,000 left. Can we not take another $20,000 out and build the public works garage this year? Or are there sufficient funds, or would that not work?
So what we did in the report, I wanted to make sure we had something in place for 2021. But if Public Works can bring the proposal to council and it can be done this year, then you as council can do that, you have the 65 and you can allocate more money if you want out of efficiency, if you want to. But right now, you're using 65 as the
No, yeah,
efficiency,
yeah.
and you have the 65, that's what we're originally there.
So you would bring a report back to council.
If it's possible.
So is that something you're anticipating that will be brought forward?
I think that the reason I didn't put it in there for 2020 is we have so many things happening with this COVID thing that if the construction world doesn't really increase, like really get moving, we might not be able to do that this year. I just wanted to have a placeholder for 2021. We may be able to do it ahead.
So moving on to item 8.2. Have a resolution that council accepts the Zoom meeting audio issues report and instructs staff to continue to develop improved delivery of meeting broadcasting. And again, mover and seconder, moved by Councilor Buckwell, seconded by Councilor Robinson.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Questions or comments, or you want staff to give a little background?
So just the reporting problem with the report, unfortunately, the bottom line comes down to we can do all kinds of things to try to fix it at this end, but it's only as good as their connection at the other end, their internet, their phone line, their cell tower, their actual telephone unit, or whatever any device they're using. So what staff is recommending, especially because we're starting from others, we're gonna have 10 people, maybe we could have 20, you know, in the next month or so, is that we're gonna try to continue to make some improvements. But our improvements will only be as good as this room, not what's outside this room. And until you know exactly all the conditions that someone's trying to listen, and what receiver they have, if it's coming off a cell tower, are they using a speakerphone, is it a Samsung, everything is all different. And that's what the IT people are telling us, that they can do some things, like there's a telephone system that they can purchase. You can purchase a phone for $1,000 for it, and it might do better, but really it might not be worth it to you because it might not be helping the guy over. So we would like to strive to try to do better, but it's maybe somewhat redundant as we move forward.
Councilor Ray,
I think it's important that we try our best to have our end as well as we can have it. Just because, like, you know, who knows what's going to happen with COVID, and it could be a number of months before we do get people in here wanting to observe. So if they're trying to hear what's going on in our meetings, I think it's important that we try our best, at least on this end, and maybe even get IT to send out a fact sheet saying, here are some determinants, and this might be why your quality isn't there. A, if you had this, it would work better. B, it would have, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, there are some residents trying to listen. And I mean, even that one Zoom meeting that I was participating in, it wasn't as good as the first one, right? So I think, and I get what you're trying to say, you know what I mean? But that being said, I think it's important that we at this end try to do as much as we can.
Councilor Robinson.
One of the things that I have found, and if we're sending out a fact sheet, is when you sign up to be a Zoom
Participant?
or not a participant, but have a Zoom account.
Okay.
I find that like the setting up and the audio is much better. Because to run the Zoom account, you have to have certain basic requirements. So it may be one of the recommendations that we make to, you know, if somebody's keen, it doesn't cost anything to do it either.
Right.
So we're trying different things as we go. Like, this may be a really good setup where we are right now, because we have the owl actually right in the middle of you now, and we can still do our physical distancing.
Right.
So it will be interesting to see what the result of tonight is. And how many people do you have online right now, Laura?
3.
So there's 3 other people listening to our meeting. So tomorrow we may find out and get some feedback on how it is. But we'll continue to look for different ways to try to improve. And I think the setup tonight is a good setup. You probably can't get much better to be around the owl.
I like the setup, because you're right, we are all much closer to the owl, so hopefully, you know, it transmits better. Seeing no other comments then, I'll call for the vote. Councilor Buckle,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Reddish-Monfeld,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
and a yes, that's carried. Item 8.3 is the bulk bid. I have a resolution of council accepts the report on bulk or large item day and site hours and instructs staff to proceed with a large item drop off at Burnt Road and OVWRC sites on specific days in August. And further, that Burnt Road transfer site be closed on Sundays and the hours be extended by 1 hour on Mondays. And I'm going to move in a second. Moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Burke. Comments? Councilor Buckle.
I have some concern with changing the Sunday hours this late in the year. We've already sent out our information sheets that have the hours on it. People have gotten used to it. And this seems to come up every year during the summer. The numbers go down and we wind up looking at changing the hours. I don't think this is the time to do it, because there are going to be people now, especially the seasonal, when they start coming back, they're going to be expecting that on Sundays before they go home, and they're not going to have it. I think maybe it's something we should look at for next year to incorporate it so that people have time to get ready, but I don't think we should be chopping the Sunday hours at this point.
I have to agree with that because I was working again on my farm on Sunday and it was used pretty good on Sunday, this past Sunday, and it's not even cottage season yet. I was surprised actually when they gave us a menu on Sunday. And to cut the hours now is, we've been down the show before and it comes back and bites us in the ass. We cut out the Sundays, the cottages.
That's the right result.
And it is only 2 hours on Sunday, right? Is it? How many hours?
2 to 4, I think, on Sunday.
Yeah, so it's 2 hours. So I mean, is there a lot of waste that comes in those 2 hours? Like,
It was busy on
but
Sunday.
I feel bad for that person there going for 2 hours. That nearly takes your whole afternoon for 2 hours of wages.
Who's in there on Sunday, Andrew?
We have one of the transportation workers from here going down there for Sunday.
Oh, okay.
So just on statistics, because we don't have last Sunday because they haven't been yet for me. But the first Sunday was open, we had 1 person. The second Sunday we had 8. And we have over 30 on the Monday. On the Monday, so they average over 30. And that's what we brought it forward, just for council to, looking at ways. With our staff, there's concerns of bringing someone in for 2 hours when we have a 3-hour call out. Generally, you try to get stuff, do something else, and the one for here, we've had him do other things. So it's a 3-hour job for him, but he's doing some other things. And if we're going to continue the way we are, I think I have to do the same for the regular operation. Produce some cleanup or something, do a 3-hour day.
Maybe they're cleaning the washrooms, all the washrooms in the park.
Then we have
If that works.
we have that part of another report, but yeah, we can try to increase that. But the reason we just brought this forward is just, it was brought to me by my staff that there was some concern, and I'm sure the transfer staff brought it to me too. And I was late putting this report in because I was trying to get some information on the bulk day. The council doesn't want this, and we don't have to go forward with this part.
So could we keep statistics from now until the end of the season? And then maybe like when we do our budgeting and hours and stuff for next year, then maybe we'll look at it. Because I agree, you train people in a certain way, but it sure seems to me a lot of work for just 2 hours of, but I mean, if it's being used by a lot of people, I'm okay with that. But I mean, the first day there was only 1 and the second, is it really efficient? Is what I'm trying to say.
That's a lot.
And I don't have a problem with looking at it and making changes. I just don't think
Now
is the time when we've
But
hopefully got the cottage season starting.
But it's good that we have statistics, so then when we
Yeah.
make our decision, we can say, this is based on the following, blah, blah, blah. It's not just we're doing it randomly.
Looking at what was just said, if we're going to once we have the statistics, I think it's something that should be publicized way in advance of the season, so that there's something ready for the first batch of tax slips that go out. So that it's right out there, so that people can't say that there was no warning. It doesn't make sense, as you say, paying somebody there for 1 person.
And the other thing too is to have that discussion now, because it's like use it or lose it, right? So then if more people start to say, holy jumpins, they're going to take it away, I really like having that option, then maybe more people will.
Exactly.
So I mean, you can start that communication now. It doesn't necessarily have to be.
And I think part of it too, it works a couple different ways. Is you've got people maybe on Sundays that are coming up to the cottage and leaving to go back home using it. But at the same time, you've got people from here that are going out of town on the weekend and using it on Monday. So I can see how both different groups would like to be serviced. And again, if there's no need for it on Sundays, then I'm fine with doing it. To me, it's just the timing, because we're partway through the year and people are making their plans. I think it'll just make us look silly after we send the information out and change it.
Okay, so about the bulk days, so Andrew, would you envision, like, let's just say it was, I don't know, June the 27th, the bulk day at Burnt, right? And would they have the same bulk day at Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery?
Yes, so what I'm actually suggesting in the bottom of the report is August 8th to 15th.
Right.
That we would allow this. So our license at Burnt Road allows us to take large items. So we would just put a large 40-yard bin where the scrap metal bin is now. So we could do top loading, we could do a lot more in it. And then we just take the scrap bin and move it out and open up the back door so they can just put things in the scrap. And we would leave it there for basically 2 Saturdays. So
Okay,
there's more of an opportunity than there is now. And then as far as Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery, it would be the same, basically Saturday to Saturday.
right,
And
okay,
they would be able to bring it during the week. And Daniel and I were talking a little bit, to do this properly, or to do it so it works like other municipalities, you basically are gonna put a coupon in with your tax bill. And the resident would put their roll number on that coupon. So it's one resident, one coupon. If you have to pay for four residents, like 4 properties, you're gonna get 4 of them. That's just the way the world's going to work. But we have the potential, and this is just not a warning for council, but just, so Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery is $20 per minimum load. So the guy takes his couch in. If everybody in the municipality takes their couch in, how much does that cost us? Then it costs a lot.
$8,000.
But typically, people have been very reasonable about taking things in. A lot of people are going to get their tax bill and they're not going to be here at that time. It's going to be sort of normal, but what you're giving people this year is you're actually giving them for Burnt Road 2 days that they can, or actually 2 days plus the two part days,
Yeah.
plus Ottawa Valley Waste, they can take it in for. So what it doesn't do is we don't need to have a guy there with these folks out. So we usually have 2 operators outside the site here. And this way, it's completely done by the staff that are already on site. Because we're doing the top loading to the bin at Burnt Road, if you throw a couch in, it lands at the bottom. It's not like you're pushing things in and the guy that brings the couch leaves it on the front of the bin and nobody else is coming in. So we may go down and pack that bin during the week so we can put more stuff in it. But it's a lot easier to manage. We looked at possibly putting the, say, for example, on Island View Drive, or why do you put it on Island View Drive when you're that far away from the road? And if you're going to put a bin on the side of the road someplace, you got to get it so that whatever activity is around that bin isn't disturbing the road. So that's why we went back to, we looked at the license for Burnt Road. It allows large items to be put there in a bin. And it doesn't allow us to do it here, but we've got Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery, which we can just drive.
so with the waste recovery, we wouldn't go where the non-people go right now, we'd go over the waste scales, is what you're saying.
One thought.
So let's say perhaps I take a couch and I don't know, something else and something else and something else in my trailer, then that would be fine. Like, would they weigh it and say,
Well, we as a municipality are paying whatever it takes. So if you go in with a minimum load, now we're going to limit it to 1 load. And
right,
we're going to put on the coupon that this is a pickup truck or whatever, or
Right.
an 8x4 trailer, because when you have someone that brings a tandem axle truck in, we're not going to allow that. But Daniel and I have been talking about a kilogram rate, like for example, 1,000 pounds or half a ton, and Daniel didn't like this, so told him more work, but if you came in at 1 ton, which is 2,200 pounds, and we're only paying for half a ton, then the difference would be charged for that.
so before when we had the large pickup here, certain things weren't allowed, right? I'm just saying that if I were to go to the waste recovery, there wouldn't be a limit on those things. Is that something we put into our coupon information?
We'll put what's allowed into them. Yes, there's a little bit more freedom at the Burnt, at the Ottawa Valley, but at our site, we may be limited to what we're putting before.
Right.
We will have all that on the coupon.
Okay, and it would say at Burnt Road, you can't take these things, but at Ottawa Valley.
If there's a difference, we'll have that on the coupon.
Because I think something was plastic chairs, or, do you remember, Melvin?
Well, there is a list of stuff that they don't take.
Yeah, and somebody really argued.
Paddle
because-
boats, I think they want, the paddle boats, they don't take them.
So we
How
typically
come
draw
you-
the distinction between construction material and not. So I mean,
As long-
theoretically, you could have people bringing their shoes to their house.
As long as people knew what was acceptable with this coupon, and now I think that's
Yeah, there's sharing on the sheet for that.
So we'll have, what we're planning on doing is we have every March we put out a tax bill with all of the information on it. Our contention is that we don't need to give the same sheet out in the second part of the year because people already got it. So we have a condensed version on the one side, and on the other side, you would have basically a mayor's message and the thing on the waste, and then your coupon on the bottom. So the people that don't read our flyer are out of luck. But it's just easier to put one piece of paper
No,
in
no,
there.
I agree. No, that's good.
Thank you very much.
And they have to be, it has to be monitored by one of the waste side vendors, Andrew. Because I have volunteered there a couple times and when they did this, both there at the current road right there. You wouldn't believe the people, I think, in the silver garbage in there for free.
And definitely we get that, so, we would possibly have extra staff, but there's 2 on Saturdays anyway.
Yeah,
But on the Monday, Karen G by herself, we'd probably put somebody down there.
because you wouldn't believe the people that try to throw their garbage because they think everything's free. It's like, it's a lot.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so
And what was the date for that? In August?
August 8th and 15th, so that's 2 Saturdays. And any day that the sites are open in between, so we would post that on it.
So like really, if I was going to OB, I could go there anytime during that week with my coupon.
Yes.
Work those Sundays.
Yeah, not Sundays.
So with the resolution, you just struck off the bottom sentence. That was my question. I hear the question.
If Karen didn't get that information, and there's a lot of people asking her about that.
And Karen and I had a chat the other day, and I just told her we had to get through this council meeting.
Yeah.
What's going on.
we'll call for the vote, Councilor Buckles.
Could you just read the resolution again?
Council accepts the report on bulk or large item day in site hours and instructs staff to proceed with a large item drop off at Burnt Road and OVWRC sites on specific days in August. And the second sentence about closing Burnt Road has been struck out.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Buckles.
Yes.
Councilor Burke.
Yes,
Councilor Schoenfeld.
Yes,
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
I don't know, because I think Burnt Road transfer site could be closed on Sundays just based on the numbers I have. But that's carried. Item 8.4, I have a resolution that council either accepts or amends the draft letter to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing regarding the County of Renfrew Official Plan Amendment number 25 as presented.
I know we submitted this a little late trying to get things in here. I tried to be very civil, and I didn't come out and say we hate what you did to us, but I did note the items that the township should be concerned about, the agricultural areas, the natural heritage features, the karst topography, and your environmental impact requirement, cultural heritage, archaeological things, I mean, water now. And with wildland fire and then general comments. So basically, I don't know if you have that document in front of you, but we're telling them we're not happy. And this is echoed by a lot of other municipalities within our county. We get into the part where, but there's 2 cottages beside each other, there's a lot in between. Why would you need to have an environmental impact study when you sever that lot off? So we're just telling them we want them to revisit, and every other municipality within our county is telling them the same thing.
What
letter, and I think it was being CC to the, yes, it is going to the county as well. Which is good, because I know the county is working on a plan with MPP Athabasca to go back to the province to look for some more adjustments.
You see, you got the John there.
Yeah, it's on here.
Oh, it's on, okay.
Seeing no further comments, then I'll ask if council is going to accept the draft letter. Okay. Need a mover in a second, moved by Councilor Buckwell, seconded by Councilor Byrne. Councilor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councilor Byrne,
Yes,
Councilor Becky Schoenfeld,
Yes,
Councilor Robinson,
Yes,
and a yes, it's carried, thank you. Anybody else want to take a quick bathroom break? Okay. Well, he's gone. Is everybody back? Item 8.5, the council supports the approval of consent application B1820 for Peter Daniel Whalen to sever 0.6275 hectares from their 26.726 hectare holding in lot 23, concession 15, Wilberforce, as a lot addition severance to be added to property owned by Keith and Linda Risto, 940 Germanicus Road. Germanicus Road currently meets the municipal requirement. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councilor Buckwell, seconded by Councilor Byrne. Questions, comments? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Councilor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councilor Byrne,
yes,
Councilor Schoenfeld,
yes,
Councilor Robinson,
yes,
and a yes. Carried. Item 8.6, I have a resolution that council accepts the report on burnt road transfer, site brush, yard, and leaf waste, and directs staff to bring a further report forward with pricing for required compliance issues. And further, that the report includes a user pay system that reflects actual material disposal costs. And then move it to seconder. Moved by Councilor Buckwell, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Comments, questions? Seeing none, Councilor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councilor Byrne,
I'm just reading through it, I thought I read in here that you said there is no tipping fees right now, Andrew? Or-
So there's, so brush there is, but there's no tipping fee for the
the yard was,
clippings and leaves.
under an inch, I think everything's okay.
Just one thing before council votes on this report. You are out of compliance if you put leaf and yard waste at Burnt Road. The requirement is to be on a concrete pad. So presently you don't have a concrete pad, and that is for the leaf and yard waste and for your brush. So effectively with this report, you're saying we're not going to do it until we get things in place properly. So you are going to have some people that aren't going to be happy about that, but there's no allowance for us to do that at that site. And I did go out and look at what's there now. It's a lot of material to move, but it's not on a pad. You need to put a concrete pad there before you put leaf and yard waste there.
Because now it's difficult to try and pick up without taking soil and everything else.
The other thing with the concrete pad, the reason why the Amber does this, with a concrete pad, there's no, nothing underneath that you can burn, so you don't get a fire that's traveling underground. It's a considerable expense to put a concrete pad there. It's a lot. It probably is costly.
How come this was never brought up before when I believe the JP2 does their assessment on the transfer site? That they never put nothing in that we.
I think, and not that it's a defense for anyone, it was something that just was purposely not looked at. Because it is out of compliance. And the contention may be that the MOE didn't see it when they were in there, but it doesn't make it right. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to get inspected and that they're going to tell you, no, you can't do that.
And now that we're aware of it, we need to act.
I could not give you this information.
I think it's important that we are in compliance. It's unfortunate and it is what it is, but and that should be relayed to the landfill attendants up there so they're not getting brief like, why is it not happening? Well, it's not happening because, for us to keep our license, we have to be compliant, therefore we can't accept this anymore. I know that's an inconvenience, but that's just the way it is.
Could be a notice posted there.
We will post this. Our attendant is actually quite stressed about the purely on there. So it would be a relief for the attendant and needs to be done properly.
Okay, back to the vote. Councilor Burton,
Yes.
Councilor Schoenfeldt,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
and yes, that's carried. Item 8.7, I have a resolution that council suspends the option for residents to be charged by the cubic meter, and that commercial waste charges remain status quo for the remainder of 2020. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councilor Byrne, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Comments? That council suspends the option for residents to be charged by the cubic meter, and that commercial waste charges remain status quo for the remainder of 2020. And I'll just ask staff to maybe explain a little background.
So if you take waste to Burt Road, you can pay by the cubic meter, or you can pay by the bag as a resident. Commercial users are invoiced, so that money comes back here through a check. When we're going to this $2 in the little bucket thing that we're going to, it's very hard to manage $12 or $24. So that's where this came from. But the reality of the $12 a cubic meter is there's a lot of garbage bags in the cubic meter. So just for council's observation, in the back there's 24 boxes in this room, and they fit in a cubic meter. So if you take a garbage bag and you put it, you can stuff it into each one of those boxes, you would get 24 bags of garbage for $12, which is a lot better than $2 a bag. So the people that are bringing in a cubic meter for $12 are bringing in more bags than the $12 pays for. When that happens, then not only do the other people that are paying $2 help supplement that, but the regular taxation pays for the rest, because you still ship that garbage. So at landfills, and I teach landfills, we calculate a cubic meter at approximately 481 kilograms. That's a lot of weight. So if you take four of those, basically you're a ton, which is what you're charged per ton, $95 per ton. So we're paying that tipping fee. So effectively, we can allow someone to bring 481 kilograms in and pay $12 for it. Even the big bags, you're still going to get 12 bags into a cubic meter. So to make it easier for staff to work through this year with that $2 thing in the bucket, making everyone pay for the bag, which no one should complain about that because we pay with our fee is $2 a bag. I took the liberty suggesting to council that don't increase the tipping fee for commercial, businesses, because the businesses are just starting up now, they haven't been running all year. So when they calculate their business based on $12 a cubic meter a year, to come up now and say you gotta pay 40 or something like that, it's not reasonable for them this year. So my suggestion to council is suspending the residents' cubic meter charge, so they just pay $2 a bag like everybody else. And the commercial customers, which are invoiced, continue to do what they're doing for the remainder of the year, as an incentive for their business to keep running.
How does, the commercial businesses normally bring their garbage? What does it look like?
So some of them have a trailer where their garbage is in the trailer, and it's in a bunch of bags and they throw it in. Some of them bring it in the trailer and it's all just a big mess and it's a cubic meter of garbage. But they have to get it into the bin, so it's there. So there are different ways. Some bring a pickup truck.
I was just envisioning, was it in bags or boxes or, you know, just a
I think it comes in
dump
a
trailer?
variety of different
Dump
ways.
Little bit of it. Like for the campgrounds, we'll have garbage bags and boxes and,
Yeah,
you know, restaurants and stuff like that.
Okay, I was just trying to envision what it looked like.
and all the campgrounds, they all get their residents to, in the campgrounds to recycle. They're pushed out for the air too.
This will allow us to manage the $2 bag thing, when we start the $2 bag thing up. And it's also eventually will correct an issue for council, a lot of revenue.
And we have to work with businesses because like the Sands up there, they just had an open on Facebook this morning that they're just only reopened. They haven't closed since they started. The Sands in Deacon, they haven't closed since they started. Like the month of March was a perfect snowmobile month, and they missed all that. Like the motel and they're just announcing on Facebook this morning that they're going to reopen.
So this will help support the business. Just a short note on the Sands. The Sands asked for our blessing to increase their liquor serving patio on the lake side, which I just sent them a letter back saying as long as you follow the LCBO rules and you're in conformance to it. So they needed that. They weren't allowed to do it until we gave them permission. So taking it to council, it would be open on the 13th. I mean, we said it last Friday. So this will help businesses having that $12 charge.
Okay, so I'll call for the vote. Councilor Buckwald,
Yes.
Councilor Burns,
Yes.
Councilor Rogers Schoenfeld,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
and a yes, that's carried. Item 8.8, I have a resolution that council accepts the opening of beach facilities report as presented. Can you get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councilor Buckwald, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Comments, questions?
I'd like to run through this real quickly without even looking at the report. So basically, the province is allowing us to open up our beaches. They said that a while ago. But now the county health unit has come into play and set up some protocol for open beaches. And what we should be doing with our beaches is do the physical distancing and how we should manage how we get into the beach and how we leave the beach. Come up with some protocol of having a separate entrance and an exit for the beach. Pretty difficult to do in some of our areas, but we can manage some things. We've got some signage in place already, so we're just going to increase our signage. They're talking about adding grids and basically circles to our beaches. It's going to be very difficult for us to do that. But again, we're going to try to keep that physical distancing signs up. Our beaches are all unsupervised, so it's going to be hard to do. We're going to review our parking. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically put cones between the parking spaces, so they have to separate a little bit because that's a requirement. That's going to be fairly easy to do at Melissa Bishop, a little harder in some of the areas. Public Works right now is working on putting the blue lines on the accessibility parking on the paved area, so that will help that area because it'll be marked out. And organized activities such as beach volleyball can't happen, and the swimming programs can't happen. So we're not going into those areas right now. Change rooms can open. our public washrooms are going to cause a bit of a challenge. So one thing I wanted to discuss with council tonight in the red, you know, and this is Jill's report, was who will we have doing this during the weekend or week. So during the week, we talked about how we have the washrooms open and closed. On the weekends is when washrooms will be used. It's going to be overtime for staff to do that. I would like to see, you know, council's interested in it. The cleanup after will be there if we don't do it. So I just want council to know that we're probably going to have to use a lot of extra staff to be able to have washrooms open on weekends. And that will be Melissa Bishop and Golden Mike.
So would you envision like somebody, the same, you know, somebody goes in at 9 o'clock, cleans it all up and then shuts them up at 5 o'clock? Is that?
That would be the perfect thing,
what
but
do
that's
you
going to be pretty
envision?
hard to get a staff that's going to come back. So what I would probably be doing is scheduling staff to come in at 8 o'clock, open up the washrooms, and then they would be given a regime of things to clean or cutting grass or whatever. And at the end of the day, so basically instead of working during the week, they work on the weekend.
Okay, so they'd be working like an 8-hour day.
It's just easier than getting someone to come back at the end of the day.
No, I agree. I was just trying to think like, how are you gonna do that? Make people happy?
And with the washrooms and the deacon boat launch be open up the same way too?
So with the Deacon boat launch, we discussed that at the last council meeting, we can't do the safety protocol to clean them. So what I suggested to council is we just leave them closed for the summer, but leave the doors unlocked. And people basically have to use those doors because you can't clean those the same as you can clean a regular washer. If we board them up, the doors will be ripped off. So hopefully it won't be too bad, but I don't see much of an option unless you're going to invest a lot of money in it. So that would be Deacon and Peterman Park.
Yeah, because Deacon, but the only thing you do is take the pressure washer up on the back of the truck. Which
And you have to do twice a day.
Yeah.
And you also have to provide sanitizers, which they're good until someone takes your sanitizer. So we're working on alcohol sanitizer dispensers at the regular washrooms that we have. And then we will have some signage, and then the cleaning is in there in red. So the things in red, I just want to make sure council is aware of, and with our regime of cleaning, we'll be taking care of the waste disposal. So, you know, the other option is closing the beach. I don't think council wants to do that. I don't think we can. I think you'd never be able to do that.
Well, I don't think you'd be able to patrol it. That's the whole thing. People are just gonna go anyway. Right?
So if council did with what we presented, we'll go forward with that.
And so you are, or council supporting them having them open on the weekend, so if that's clear.
And that's what I talked about in my report. I think I'm to be clear with that.
Okay.
So my understanding is it'd be flexible scheduling for staff to get them to come in and do.
We're going to separate some with flexible scheduling. I'm primarily going to do twice on that. It's cheaper for us.
And then that's not costing us overtime.
Makes sense to me.
There may yet be funding for this, extra staff time involved in this crisis.
Because of COVID.
Haven't seen it yet.
So just on that subject, are we tracking additional costs, thing that we did emergency stuff?
Same as the flood.
Okay.
Not only are we tracking, but we're making sure the government's aware of it. So with our summer student program, we sent information saying we wanted more because we have to do these extra things. So it's not like at the end of the year they're going to say, well, you never said anything. Yeah, we did. We actually asked for more funding.
Do we get grants for many students?
What they did this year, and I think it's probably for simplicity, we usually get a partial grant for like 4 students. This year we got a grant for 1 student, fully funded, basically. So yes, we didn't get as much money as we got. It was 13,000 last year, and this year's 9,000, but it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And we still are waiting on 2 provincial grants.
Okay, so I'll call for the vote. Councilor Buffalo,
Yes.
Councilor Burns,
Yes.
Councilor Winfield,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Yes, that's carried. Thank you.
Moving to item 9, I have a resolution, the council accepts the report on administration. And further, that all regular meetings in July and the first meeting in August be canceled. And I get a mover and a seconder. Councilor, moved by Councilor Buckwald, seconded by Councilor Robinson. And I will ask staff for a little bit of background.
So just a couple of things with the pandemic and the world changing a little bit. At this point, we have one major project that will be tendered before the end of the year, hopefully it's like cemetery. The road projects are all done. So your major purchases have already been done this year. So there's not really a requirement to come in and, vote on things in the summer other than that cemetery. You also are in the middle of strategic plan exercise, where you are going to have probably 2 more special meetings this summer for strategic plan. And you also will have some decisions to make in a timely fashion with COVID-19 during the summer. So I would anticipate that minimum, you will have 4 extra meetings this summer that aren't scheduled. So if you're willing to part with the 3 regular meetings, because county council's not having a meeting tomorrow. No. If you're willing to do that, you are going to have meetings to make up for it. So you're going to have at least 4 meetings in the summer. And hopefully you have a 5th because you're going to be passing a resolution for that cemetery. If we get all our engineering finished on that. Councilor Ray.
So how does that affect our communications committee meetings if we had to communicate with people?
Sorry,
I would suggest that you just have a special meeting if in that month, let's say July, if we don't have one of those special meetings, then the mayor should call a special meeting just to address that. If there's no communication, probably you don't really want to have one.
But we could put it as part of one of the other meetings, right?
It could be.
Yeah, okay, I was just double check because I didn't want to waste time and effort. Thank you.
And the other part of the report, which is really amazing, so staff have been doing really good. We've got a really good protocol for coming to this building. I think the chain link fence sort of scares people away. The public, and there's very few public, are extremely courteous, extremely respectful. They do very well. We have little stop signs that they walk in here. It's been working fine in the week that we've been. We actually had more people in the week that we weren't all officially open than the week we are officially open. Like, I think Monday we had 1 person, Tuesday last week we had 4 people or something. So it was like 10 people all last week came to the office. It's not a rush to the office. We started a protocol with anyone coming in here, and council also did tonight, basically signing a document that the document is basically used for tracking. So if Councillor Buckwald was to call me tomorrow and say I got COVID-19, the health unit is going to be probably contacting you. They call us. Yes, we know exactly who's been in this building in the last week. This is the names of all the people. And they can look at. We'll use Melvin, for example. They find that Melvin was in Mexico. How he got there, I don't know, but he was in Mexico. He might have brought the COVID-19. They could track him. He was probably in Mexico with Maria, but how the hell he got across the border, I don't know.
BC before Mexico.
So
BC before Mexico.
Exactly.
So they were going to BC, but they got to Mexico. But anyway, it gives the health officials the ability to track things and find things. And as you see, the province is really getting diligent in trying to find where things come from. So this all fits into that. So basically, anyone that comes to you on that foyer, the guy that delivers the mask once a month, he's going to fill that out. The firefighters, as they all come in, because they don't come in every day, they fill it out, and we have them all numbered. And Don's got a clipboard full of them, and maybe they'll never be needed, and that's really good. But maybe they might be needed, and we're ready. So we're trying to be ready. The plexiglass is working really good. Our hand sanitizer station is working good. And again, people are very respectful. And as we get new people coming to the office, for example, summer staff, I have Dawn train that. So she goes through the whole regime of where people walk and how the protocol for everything. So things are working really good as far as our COVID plan that we have.
Great news. So I'll call for the vote. Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Burns,
Yes.
Councillor Ricky Schoenfeld,
Yes,
Councillor Robinson.
Yes,
Yes, that's carried. Item number 10.1, that council accepts correspondence items 10.1.1 to 10.1.13 as information. We're going to move in a second. Moved by Councillor Burns, seconded by Councillor Robinson. Councillor Buckwell?
Yes.
could I just ask a question?
Sure.
What's the status of the electronic sign that was supposed to be in Golden Lake? Does anybody know?
We're working on that with MTO. So we actually had to go and do the measurements again last week. I just haven't gotten back to MTO yet, so we're working on that. We just haven't got there.
Okay, just seems like forever.
It does seem
Like-
forever for us too, but
Okay,
we're hoping to get a little extra money with this electronic sign grant.
Right.
We didn't get.
that's what made me think of that.
Okay.
Just for council's information, there's a letter that was added late from Minister Steve Clark, basically thanking municipalities for what they've done during the COVID-19.
Yes, I did. You did get reading. Back to the vote. Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Burns,
Yes.
Councillor Ricky Schoenfeld,
Yes,
Councillor Robinson,
yes,
and yes, that's carried. Thank you. Action item 10.2.1. Whereas the Township of North Algona Wilberforce received correspondence from the Township of Bushland with respect to requesting the province of Ontario to review the farm class tax rate program in light of economic competitiveness concerns between rural and urban municipalities, be it resolved that the Township of North Algona Wilberforce hereby supports the resolution 2020-151 passed on June 3rd, 2020. And be it further resolved, this motion be sent to the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Honorable Steve Clark, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Honorable Rod Phillips, Minister of Finance, Honorable Ernie Hardman, Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, MPP John Yakubuski, MPP Cheryl Gallant, all Ontario municipalities, Rural Ontario Municipal Association, and Association of Municipalities of Ontario. We're going to move in a second. Moved by Councillor Burns, seconded by Councillor Buckwell. Comments, questions? Seeing none, Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Burns,
Yes.
Councillor Ricky Schoenfeld,
yes,
Councillor Robinson,
yes,
and yes, that's carried. Thank you. Item 10.2.2, I have a resolution. Whereas the Township of North Algona Wilberforce received correspondence from the town of Orangeville with respect to requesting support for the resolution passed June 8th, 2020, to write to the Solicitor General to encourage common training requirements for all members of police services in Ontario as it relates to diversity, empathy, and use of force. And that the Solicitor General provide clarity on police oversight going forward, given the anticipated changes to legislation to ensure effective accountability continues. And that annual updates or refresher courses be mandatory to ensure our police services have the best and current information available to them. And that the town requests that the use of force protocols be reviewed to ensure they are safe and would meet current standards, and then shared across the province. And I'm going to move in a second. Moved by Councillor Buckwell, seconded by Councillor Robinson. Comments, questions? Seeing none, Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Burr,
Yes.
Councillor Ricky Schoenfeld,
yes,
Councillor Robinson,
yes,
and a yes, that's carried. Item 11, bylaws. I have a bylaw here, the council enacts bylaw 2020-63, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a lease agreement between the corporation and North Algona Wilberforce Township and Marlene Cernosky and Ronald Baird to permit reclamation of shoreland and retaining wall on municipal property in front of their residence. So we're gonna move in a second, or moved by Councilor Buckwell, seconded by Councilor Burns. Questions, comments? Councilor Schoenfeld?
Just on number 3, do we have to, when will we put the dates in? Will I go be today's date? Is that why? I don't know. Oh, not that number 3. Or witnesses? Were the
We'll put
witnesses?
the dates in when we sign the agreement.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I meant, number 3.
Councilor Burns?
We don't need nothing in this bylaw that we're not responsible for any liability.
He had to provide us with insurance,
Oh, okay.
so we made sure that's in place.
And that has been done then?
Matthew has contacted him and he has contacted his insurance
Okay.
agent, and yes. And he was agreeable to all the terms that we gave him.
Seeing no other questions, then I'm deem this file I read a first and second time, the 16th day of June 2020. You read a third time, the time was passed, this 16th day of June 2020. Councilor Buckwell?
Yes.
Councilor Burns?
Yes.
Councilor Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
And a yes, that's carried. Don't believe we have any matters of urgency, no notice of motions. Our upcoming meetings and unfinished business will be determined.
Mr. Mayor, just to comment, I have a CPAC meeting on the 23rd,
Okay,
just to make council aware.
yes.
Unfinished business of that July 7th is redundant now. On unfinished business, just for council's information, I did send an email to Longshore Valley regarding the arena repairs. So basically, it's taking a post out to make allow for the washroom doors to be automated, and also for hand dryers, electric hand dryers. In my email, I said council didn't ask the question, but I'm asking the question. The $20,000 that we already gave you, because of the reduction in programs, what credit did we get for that? I didn't get an answer for that part, but I would say that council may want to consider that you've already given a contribution to them and they're getting less programs. So if she gives me an answer, then I'll come back to council. That's one thing. Another one of your unfinished business, that's just an update I'm giving you, is Canada Day. We haven't got quite the response that we wanted for Canada Day. We have a resurgence of interest by the ABB. If that's not secured by tomorrow, I would suggest that we call the plug on Canada Day and not Canada Day. And the Recreation Committee has discussed that in their meeting.
Thank you for that. That brings us to item 16, which is our closed session. We have a resolution that council go into close at 9:39 p.m. Pursuant to section 239, 2B of the Municipal Act for 1, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and 3, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or the local board. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Burns. Councilor Buckwell?
Yes.
Councilor Burns?
Yes.
Councilor Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson? And the rest of